Repairing my bond with Hoshi was high on my to-do list, but as the chant went on, I couldn't stop my thoughts from wandering. Fresh in my mind were too many traumas, the memories crowding each other as they fought for my attention. A week ago, Kai and I sneaking onto a plane and flying south to Los Angeles, breaking into an MPD precinct to rescue Zach and destroying the building on our way out. That night, Zach and I returning to the ruins of his farm, grieving together over what he'd lost, his hatred-fueled need for revenge. Had it only been 3 days since we'd planned our attack on Varvara Nikolov, her rogues and her inexplicably powerful golems? Only 3 days since Zach had betrayed me, Ezra had lost control, and I'd destroyed all my magic to save him.
Tori?
I jolted. Philip was crouched beside me, a narrow stick of charcoal in his hand.
Where would you like the familiar mark?
He asked. Untangling my arms from Hoshi, I unzipped my leather jacket and shrugged it off. The late January cold bit into my skin as I rolled up the sleeve of my thin sweater. I wanted it in the same spot as last time. Philip held my upper arm steady as he began to draw. I twisted my mouth at the scratchy tip of the charcoal, thinking wistfully of Zach's pragmatic eyeliner pencil. That probably wasn't natural enough for a witch. It took the witch a few minutes longer to complete the complex design, but he didn't need a reference for it, which impressed me. He lowered the charcoal and surveyed his work.
Excellent,
he said.
Now, we begin the formal ritual of exchange, where I'll invite the Fae to...
Hoshi stretched out her neck and bumped her nose against the mark on my arm. Heat flashed through my body, followed by a wave of swirling color in my mind. Hoshi! I gushed delightedly, sweeping her into a squirmy hug. A rainbow of pink assaulted my mind's eye as she buried her face in my chest, tail flicking.
Or we can skip that part,
Philip said dryly.
You have a strong bond with your familiar without any magic at all, Tori.
Probably because she's my friend, I said, giving the sylph one more squeeze. Are we done?
I guess so.
As I pushed to my feet, I glanced across at the elaborate nature circle, then at my arm. I almost asked if we really couldn't have skipped to the familiar mark part, but instead I grinned at the witches. Thanks for your help. I'm so glad to have Hoshi back. They smiled happily, and Delta even looked misty-eyed over the sylph's dizzying dance, her serpentine body undulating excitedly as she circled me. Her language of color was pinging in my head so fast I couldn't follow. But I wasn't worried about that. We had lots of time to catch up. As Philip and Delta tidied the circle, Kaveri wandered over to me. She watched Hoshi settle behind my back, her paws on my shoulders. Thanks again, Kaveri, I said more quietly. I really appreciate it. She nodded. It wouldn't have worked, you know. Huh? She pointed at my bare arm, the charcoal lines dark against my pale skin. If Philip had drawn that without the ritual, it wouldn't have worked. Don't you remember what I told you? Which thing that you told me? About witches versus druids. Druids can manipulate natural energies directly, but witches can't do that. We need the ritual. Oh, right. No need to admit I barely recalled that conversation. The arrival of the actual druid we'd been discussing had distracted me immediately afterward. I would have liked to see the crystal druid perform a familiar ritual without... the ritual. It would have been interesting to witness. She gave me a sidelong look. I don't suppose he'll be back to visit you. A heavy weight settled over me, pressing on my lungs. No, he's long gone. But aren't you two No. The word came out harsh and clipped. We were never friends. She glanced down at her feet. Sorry. Hoshi nudged the back of my neck. Shaking myself, I stooped to grab my jacket and pulled it on. Beneath the black markings on my arm would be a faintly glowing replica of the design that would fade in a few days. Kind of a shame, as the pinkish-blue magic looked pretty damn cool. As I zipped up my jacket, Philip slung his duffel bag of witchy supplies over his shoulder.
Shall we head back?
I nodded, and Hoshi spun...